Welcome to Workbook 3, MVP Interviews for Customer Feedback and for Lean Startup Process Pivots. All right, this week we're going to zero in on this topic. Make sure that before you've watched this, that you've in fact watched the week 3 introductory video on the business model canvas. This whole week is going to focus on doing the interviews themselves, getting feedback, and then processing that feedback for possible pivot. So you've already been oriented to this diagram. What you're going to do here is you're going to drop in text boxes, starting from all the way over here, what your resources are, all the way back to the clients. You're probably going to want to start over here initially, and we're going to work backwards as we work our way through the course down here to resources. So since we're talking about our stakeholders, this is where you're going to draw boxes. Do us either one box for each person, or maybe just throw one box in with some bullets to tell who your clients are. So you're going to actually copy this slide right over, and then you're going to use this slide as a basis. Now, activity 9, here you're going to start off with your assumptions. So if you remember back in your assumption that you made back from workbooks 1 and 2, what you're going to do is you're going to document the assumptions here. Now here we've only created 3 blocks. You're probably going to have more. And so what you'll need to do is just add to this table as many rows that you're going to need to deal with each one of the assumptions. Because remember, you've got to test each assumption that you've got in order to develop your theory. So here, column 1, what is the actual assumption that you have? The information here is, what is it that's going to validate or invalidate it? What's going to tell you whether it's true or false? And then where are you going to find that answer? Who are you going to get that answer from? And the best way to gather, it could be a survey, it could be interview, it could be just web browsing. But the idea is you want to be able to put in, how you're going to get that question answered. And so this is taking, going back to workbooks 1 and 2, that long list. You're going to work and you're going to drop them right here into this table. Again, add more rows as needed. Then here in activity 10, you're going to identify 5 individuals that you can talk to help you test and validate your assumptions. Now remember, real world, this is going to take months and months and months to do. So for this course, we want you to understand process. So that's why you're only going to be doing 5 individuals. And we want you to split that up between internal and external stakeholders. If you're going to, if this is something you really think you're going to try and launch within your organization for real, try and identify those key decision makers up front and think of it like you're priming the pump. You're getting them used to the idea or oriented to the idea that you have. And then your external stakeholders, clients and customers if you have access, and the donors. So 5 individuals, mix it up between internal and external the best of your ability. And then prepare your MVP, your minimum viable product, and your interview guide. And here's how we want you to do that. Is to prepare the MVP to present to people you will be interviewing. And you can do that a lot of different ways. I'm not sure I would want to use the business model canvas because it's going to look very foreign to them. Here we suggest either a 1-page summary, a PowerPoint slide, or even you can just write this on a whiteboard, some way that you can capture what it is you're trying to talk to them about. And then you're going to summarize what you prepared. And you're going to attach that in your assignment submission. You can see there. So number 2, on the basis of all these previous worksheets that you've done, 1 and 2, that's actually workbook, what are the assumptions and the uncertainty that you have? And then prepare questions and issues to address in this interview guide that's going to help you test this business model assumptions and the product market fit. So here it's, I've got this question, and here's the second question I'm going to ask, the third question I'm going to ask, and each one of those is key to a very specific assumption. And you want to be prepared. So that's what this slide is all about. It's all about being prepared, transferring what you saw from the previous table into some sort of document that's going to guide you so you can make the time that you're spending with those individuals the most productive. Here in activity 12, you're actually going to conduct your interviews. You'll take notes and summarize. Now, here's how we'd like you to do that. So when you conduct your interview, we want you to ask the same question to different people. It's not a great idea to vary the questions. I understand if you're doing it personally, there may be a little different way on how you present that question, but really the integrity of the question needs to remain from individual to individual. Include the time and date that you interviewed that person. And then for each interview, you can see here, make a copy for each interview. And then summarize what you learned. The way we want you to do that is if you ask 5 people the same question, what is the summary of all people, of that question for all 5 people? What's the gist of that? What's the kind of the big picture takeaway that you get from that question? And then that is going to tell you whether you need to do a change, stop, or pivot. And so here we go. What did you learn to refine your product market fit? So nothing is perfect. Von Clausewitz, the Prussian, kind of war guru, stated that, basically your battle plan goes out the window after the first shot. And that's kind of what happens here. So nothing's perfect from the start. What did you learn? Did you have the right segment here with number 1? And what, who haven't you considered? The second is a value proposition. Does your assumption really have value? When you thought you had this really cool thing that you're going to give it to people, did they find it valuable? Then what was most important about that? Because it may be nuanced. Folks may say, well, I really liked what you're saying, but maybe not exactly this way. Maybe I'd like it another way. So zero in on that most important. And then even what ways of communicating value connect the most. So different groups of people are going to like information different ways. And so try and find out what is the easiest way for them to understand what you're talking about, the easiest way for you to communicate that value proposition. What you're doing is you're getting rid of barriers and you're opening up an easily transferable and understandable idea for them. And the last, this item here, the last one here is, that should say 3 there, but revenue. Are the revenue streams likely to be there to sustain your vision? Now, this 5 here, don't get thrown off. This is actually step 5 in the business model canvas, but here it's item 3 on the sheet. The last thing you'll do here is you're going to go into your build, measure, learn loop. And you're going to go through each one of these processes. You're going to summarize your MVP once again. You're going to talk about the data that you collected. What did you learn from that? And again, the potential pivots based upon the data. So remember, this is an iterative loop. Each time you go out and do this, you learn something. And then the last but not least here in this slide for this workbook is you're going to drop in your revised business model canvas into this spot. Again, focus on items 1, 2, and 5. All right, customers is block number 1. Block number 2 is the value proposition. Block number 5 is revenue. We'll be dealing with blocks 3 and 4 in a later lesson. Thanks.